What was I doing before ecom? I had just graduated college in May of 2023. I was working as a bartender, had really no direction of where I was going. For certain, didn't want to be in a 9 to 5. I stumbled upon Adrian in his program. I followed him on Instagram and I ended up taking the leap and joining his program, building wealth and just being your own boss. I didn't look back ever since.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to a quick little winning student interview. This is MC Kelso. She's been part of the program for about a year. She joined back in 2023 of November. Is that right?
Like end of October. I remember it was like right
End of
around
October?
Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. And yeah, she's been absolutely, well, she's crushed it. She got really, really great results. And I kind of want to just like go over her story. So first and foremost, like, where are you from and like, what were you doing before starting, ecom?
Yeah, so like Adrian said, my name is MC. I'm from North Carolina. What was I doing before ecom? I had just graduated college in May of 2023. I went to the University of North Carolina, UNC Chapel Hill. Go Tar Heels. But I graduated, I was working as a bartender and didn't really know what I wanted to do. Like I knew my college, education wasn't like gonna take me where I wanted to go. I majored in poli-sci and music. Obviously, music is a passion for me. No regrets there. But poli-sci, not really doing it for me.
Hmm.
So working as a bartender and had really no direction of where I was going. But my sister was kind of into like e-commerce, like kind of like telling me a little bit about e-commerce. I started looking more into like e-commerce in general and like online, making money online and just kind of how I could expand, my knowledge. And I knew I wanted to be a business owner. I knew I wanted to be my own boss. I knew I for certain didn't want to be in a 9 to 5. That's why I was working as a bartender because I was like, I can't like go into a corporate job. Like I just can't do that. Like I feel like I would die there. My creativity, like my passions would just be, out the door. So um I stumbled upon Adrian in his program and I just started to look. I followed him on Instagram. I got into it a little bit more about what he was talking about and I ended up just like taking the leap and joining his program, because I think like part of what he spoke about really spoke to me and just like building wealth and just being your own boss and just being creative, like that social media aspect and just being creative and making videos and stuff. I really like spoke to me, so I just took the leap and I joined the program and I didn't look back ever since. Just been going grinding ever since then.
Yeah, it's pretty insane how like,
Yeah.
you graduated college first and foremost. You also
Yeah.
did like a serving job as well, right? I remember we were
Yeah.
talking in one of the calls and you said that you were serving and you quit
Yeah.
or something like that to go all
Yeah.
in, which was kind of a crazy,
Yeah.
like crazy thing.
No, but I feel like, okay, so yeah, let me explain that a little bit because it is a little bit crazy and a little bit unhinged. But I basically joined the program at the end of October and I was like, this is awesome. Then all of November, I was like doing the course, doing the videos, like I had my first product, I was like really all in, like heavily, like doing everything. And I was just like, what the fuck am I still doing at this like bartending job? Basically, I was like, I don't want to be here. My bosses were like super annoying. Like the place I worked for was like super anal. It was like a chain restaurant and like there was like all these higher commands and it was just like I was like I'm not interested in like literally like serving like you know what I mean? Like basically I'm trying not to have like a gory like thing, but like
Hmm.
eating the customer's asses. Like I was not interested in like doing that, which is basically what they wanted you to do, which was just like do everything for the customer and like the customer is like the king and queen and like you basically had to
Hmm.
like it was just like what they were teaching there and what you had to do. I was just like, I'm not interested in doing that. They were
Yeah.
just like super corporate, like super, like please always need to please, and I was like, I'm done with this. So I ended up quitting at the end of November and I was like, okay, in November, I'm gonna like really dive into my, e-commerce. And also my thought was like, okay, if this doesn't take off in like the next month, like I'll just get like a little boutique job or something in January, because I was like in my mind, I was like, no one's really gonna hire me during the holiday season. Like people are like, it's the busiest time, like no one wants to be training someone in a new
Hmm.
job. So I was like, I'll just give myself December to just kind of like really dive in. I started my second product in December, and I chose a specific product that I could sell for Christmas and Valentine's Day, because I knew I was kind of like late on the Christmas trend because I was just starting my second product at the end or at the beginning of December. So I was like, let me just see if I
Hmm.
can choose something that realistically I could sell like for gifting for Christmas and Valentine's Day, but with the real intention that like I'm really gonna hit this heavy for Valentine's Day. So that's what I did. And I took all of December. I really like honed in on my skills on this one product. Again, it was like my second product. So I was still like new to, you know, the flow of things and like going viral and everything.
Hmm.
So I really just like honed in my skills all of December. And I remember in January, I just started like immediately, like January 1st, like or January 2nd, I got my first sale with this product for Valentine's Day because I was just all of a sudden it just blew up for Valentine's Day. And I just sold this
Yeah.
product for the entirety of January, all through Valentine's Day. And that was
Yeah.
kind of like my first look at success. But like I said, like my journey is a little bit different because I did have the intention of like I'm quitting my job to go full in, but also I have a backup plan. January comes, it's still not taking off. I'll just get like a little like boutique job, like I said, or like at a jewelry place or like something that I can just do on the side just to have some income while I am really letting this go off. So yeah,
Hmm.
ended up working out obviously the way that it should have. And but yeah, so
I think what's really interesting is that usually a lot of people would be like, oh, like your 9 to 5 funds your 5 to 9. But then at that point right there, you didn't even really have a 9 to 5. You just kind of like dove right in, which is like
yeah, I didn't.
something completely unheard of. I've never seen anybody do that unless it's like me or some shit, because that's what I did too. Quit my
Yeah,
job
no,
and I just went all in.
yeah, and I think like also especially with that, you know, for me to be able to do that, I had to truly really work up here. That was like the biggest thing for me was I have to believe that this is going to work. I have no other option at this point. Like I gave myself no other option is the thing. Is like I quit my job. I gave myself no other choice but to believe that I could achieve this, and I
Hmm.
did. So I think that was something that was really like important, and it was an integral part of my journey because I mean truly like I was like locked in like my mind. Even when people were doubting me, because I lived at my parents' house after I graduated and moved back in with them, and my sister was there, and my parents were like, "What are you doing? Like, you quit your job? Like, what? Like, what are you're doing e-commerce? You're brainwashed." Like, they were like coming into my room every single day, just
Yeah.
being like, "What are you doing with your life?" And I will admit, like, I was a little bit of a hermit at that point because, I was like really grinding, like every single day, like rewatching the videos, like making sure that I could take all the information from everything, like even though I was taking notes, what did I miss the first time that I need to know the second time I watch? I was like really just like all in doing it, like believing that I could do it. Um,
Hmm.
Despite like people doubting me and like also like my friends like being like, yeah, I don't have a job right now. But also trying to explain to them it's like, yeah, I'm like trying to like have a startup here, like I'm trying to build a business. But like a lot of people like look down on that. Especially like I had a lot of friends that graduated from the business school, like the B school at Carolina, and just them being like, oh, working for their little corporate businesses and like being like, oh, but you weren't like a marketing degree, you weren't like business school. I'm like, yeah, and what? And what about it? Because I can still learn the same skills that you learned, but I'm probably learning more because I'm learning the updated version, and I'm also like doing trial and error. I didn't just go
Hmm.
and start and work for a business coming out of the business school. I'm building my own business. So that's the difference between me and you is you got your degree, now you're working for someone else. I didn't get your degree, but I'm working for myself. So
Exactly.
Anyway, it was
I think that's like the one of the coolest parts about just like being your own boss and everything. Like you actually get to
yeah.
do the actions required to make an income as opposed to, you know, make an income and be told what to do and things like that, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. And so I don't know. There was like all the odds were stacked against me, but I wasn't listening to them. I was like on a different like plane. Like I was literally like attracting the success to me because that's just what I believed was going to happen. Like there
Hmm.
was, and that kind of sounds like a little bit silly in a way, like having that like a steadfast belief and just kind of like it almost seems a little bit naive, but honestly, it's like kind of like childlike belief and kind of childlike curiosity and childlike, wonder and positivity. And
Hmm.
honestly, that's what everyone needs to be a business owner. You need to have that, like, just that beacon of just like, I, the only limit is me. Like, if I tell myself I can't do it, and then I can't do it. The only limit I have is me. So, like, if I take myself out of the equation and or I use my brain for positivity, then like I'm just going to be attracting all the success. If I'm putting my action in and I'm believing that I can do it, like it's going to happen because there's no other choice. There's no other choice but to be like that. So I think that's like a really important part about this business, especially because, you can get like burnt out, or people say that they get burnt out from this because like they're not seeing the results or they're not doing this. But, I chose to take every single day and be like, oh, I didn't go viral today. That's okay because I posted 3 amazing videos, and every time that I post a video, I get better every single day. I chose to have that mindset. It's a choice. And when you start a business, it is a choice point. You have a choice point to either, you know, be positive, take your action and spiral upwards, or take your action but be negative, be doubtful, and you're going to spiral downwards. So that's like a choice point that I think every person has when they start a business, or specifically, in the dropshipping business, or it really applies to every business, but you know what I mean. When you're doing everything from the ground up yourself, there's a choice there, and you have to make the right one. Otherwise, you're not going to see the results that you want. Point blank.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that mindset is everything. And you know, again, like you said before, in a very important call that really stuck out to me was, you know, action with a negative mindset will not get you results that you want, but action with
Yeah.
a positive mindset will help you attract that a lot faster, or even just like
Yeah.
get it point blank, period. And then just like having that childlike kind of curiosity of like trial and error. And just being
Yeah.
like, oh, like I wonder what this does. Like I wonder what that button does. Like I wonder what happens if I touch that stove and you know whatever happens. Like I think that's,
Yeah,
you know, very,
right.
very important, right? So,
Yeah, it's like you need
yeah.
to start and learn everything for the first time, and it needs to be new and exciting. It needs to be like, wow, like the outcome can be so great if I just allow it to be great, you know? And I know like I like to use this analogy, and I heard this from Regan Hillier. I don't know if you know who she is, but when she's talking about like the action and with positive mindset is she uses like a skiing analogy where, you know, let's say you're out on the slopes for the first time, it's your first time ever skiing, you're going up on the little gondola thing, and you get a call from your friend, and you're like, oh my gosh, hey, like I'm on the slopes right now, I'm going skiing for the first time, and you're super excited, and your friend says to you, oh, well, skiing's really hard and you're gonna fall a lot, you're definitely gonna get hurt, like it's really hard, blah blah. And he starts to talk about how negative it is, and you're like, okay, like whatever. Then you start to get nervous, and you're like, wait, is it gonna be hard? I'm scared. Like, and say you start going down the mountain and you fall, like every new skier does, you fall because you're on skis. It's a new experience. You've never done it before, and you're like literally on two little things and you're going down a mountain skiing on snow, right? Like it's hard, it's difficult. You fall for the first time. And let's say there's a choice point there, and you decide from that moment that you're going to reinforce the beliefs that your friend told you, oh my God, they're right, skiing is hard, I'm going to get hurt, this is awful, blah blah blah. And you start going down the rabbit hole, and the action that you take throughout the rest of the day is just you continue to ski, right? You're still learning to ski, but the mindset that you have like that is now you're negative, and you're spiraling downwards, right? You're going to have a bad time because every time that you fall or every time that you mess up, you're reinforcing that, skiing is bad, skiing is horrible, you're never going to be good at skiing, right? Like you're reinforcing, you're spiraling downwards. As opposed to, if you got on that slope and knowing that your friend was like, it's hard, whatever, blah, 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 you're gonna get hurt. But you say, you know what? I don't care. I knew at skiing. I know that I can be really good at this one day. At this one day, I know that if I practice and then I take it step by step, I could be really good, and I'm gonna have fun no matter what because I'm new and it's gonna be fun. This is great. I'm grateful for the experience. You start going down. Let's say you fall, like you normally do when you learn how to ski. Your choice point there with a positive mindset is being like, oh, okay, like I know I just fell. That's okay because, I'm going to get better. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to decide that I'm still having fun, that this is still going to be a good thing, even though I just fell, because I'm new at skiing again. And every second that I spend doing this, I'm going to get better. So then, with that mindset, your belief system plus the same action that you took when you were having the negative mindset, you're still skiing all day, is you're going to start to spiral upwards because you're reinforcing your belief that skiing is fun, that you're having a good time, that it's okay if you mess up, if you make mistakes, because that's what learning a new skill is. That's what like learning and growing is all about. So that is kind of like the mindset that you need to have when you start a new business, because like you're gonna make mistakes at first, or you're gonna like maybe not see the results that you want, but it's okay because every single day that you spend taking action, you're gonna spiral up if you just believe that that you can do this, or that one day you're going to have a multi-million dollar business, or that you can go viral. Like I believe I can go viral. I'm just working on my skills every single day I get better, versus, oh, I'm not seeing the skills, I'm still taking action every single day, but oh, I suck and this is hard and I can't do it, right? Then you're going to spiral down instead of going up. So that's like really, really important to have, like when you are doing this business and any business in general.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Now, like, despite like all mindset and stuff like that, it's great to see like how much you've genuinely grown. And even like I tell like students the story about how, one of the first community calls that we did, or onboarding calls that I did with you, and I was talking and I was living in the Paramount with all the different entrepreneurs that were doing crazy numbers. I felt like a baby because I wasn't like doing the numbers that they were, but I was just grateful to be in the position that I was in. Every word that I said, I just could tell that you were listening to me very like intently. Like you were listening to me with intent. And I could just tell that I'm like, I don't know what it is with this girl's energy, but she's gonna crush it. Like I genuinely believe that she's gonna crush it because like I'll say something and you're like nodding your head and you're like, yep, I understand that it's gonna happen, and you're like believing in it. Right. As to opposed like to some other people that we probably don't even know where they're at right now. They kind of just had like this limiting belief, right?
Yeah,
So I think like one really important thing is just like being able to get rid of those limiting beliefs, shake off the excess, and just like really just fully come into it with like positive intent. Now,
yeah,
coming into that, how long did it even take you to like get your sale? You said it was like 2 months or something like that. And then in
yeah.
January you
So
started hitting like a big month.
yeah, so basically it kind of took like trial and error for like the entire month of November, entire month of December. And I was like posting consistently every single day. And I remember I was on a call with, I think it was one of the coaches. It wasn't you, but it was one of the coaches at the time. And I was on a call and I was like, "Hey, can you look over my store? Like, I've had this up for like a month, whatever. I'm posting every single day." And the coach was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And on that call is when I got my first sale, and I was like, "Wait, pause. I just got my first sale on this call," as they were going over my store, which I thought was really funny because also the coach, I remember him being like, "Oh, your store's really great. Wow, like I really like this. It looks great." And I was like, "Oh, thanks." And then I got my first sale on that call. And I think that was like it was like January 2nd or like 3rd or something like that. And then I was like, am I going viral somewhere like that I didn't know? And I saw on TikTok that like my video was starting to go up a little bit. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like that's cool. I think I'm going viral. And then I remember like the next day I got like two sales. And then the next day after that, I just like it was like 3K, 4K in one day. I was like, oh my God, I literally went from like 0 to 100 like really fast. And I
Yeah.
remember like, oh my God, what do I do? I remember kind of freaking out a little bit and being like, oh my God, maybe I wasn't prepared for this, but I was, but I just all the adrenaline, and it was like crazy. But turns out that one of my videos that I had posted like December, like right after Christmas, like December like 27th or 28th. Like I immediately switched my language from like Christmas to Valentine's Day. Like I think I
Hmm.
even did it like a few days before Christmas. I started switching to Valentine's Day. And this video that I posted on like December 27th, I think, like just started going like massively viral. And this was like a week later. So I was like, oh my gosh, like, because I remember having to scroll on my page being like, what video is like, where am I getting the results? Because I had
Hmm.
posted it so long ago. But yeah, I kind of just went from like 0 to 100, and then I ended up doing like I think like 30K in revenue for Valentine's Day that month.
Hmm.
Um, and then, while I was doing that, I was like, hey, like let's get my next product. And I started my next product during the month of January, and I went viral within like 5 days of posting with that video, and not just like viral, but like 42 million views on TikTok, and that was crazy. Like I remember doing 20K in revenue just from an organic video. Like there was no paid ads yet. There was no like scaling yet. It was like from that 42 million view video, it was 20K in a single day in revenue. So I
Hmm.
remember that being like the biggest shock of my life, being like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So yeah, and that product ended up doing like, like I think like half a mil in revenue like over the next like couple
Yeah.
months. Um, but yeah, so it took me
Yeah.
about 2 months really. And it was my
Yeah.
second product.
Well,
And then
you
my
got there
second
a lot faster than I did, I'll tell you that.
well, I mean,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were my mentor, so obviously you
yeah.
shared all the sauce with me. So I'm
I'll
sure
take I'll
that,
take pride of that.
yeah, it
Um,
definitely contributed to my
yeah.
success.
I think that one of the reasons as to, and I say this a lot with your product, sometimes you'll post a video and then something will go viral, but maybe even sometimes you don't even know why it went viral. And one of the
Mhm.
reasons why your video went viral was because think about this. You were marketing towards people with Valentine's Day, and it could be gifted as like a Galentine's or a Valentine's
Mhm.
Day, girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever that might be. But when you posted in December, the Valentine's Day angle, everybody was still thinking about Christmas and everybody was still
Mhm.
thinking about New Year's. But then, as soon as New Year's stopped, January 2nd, what happened? First sale started going viral, and everybody's
Mhm.
mindset started going towards what? Valentine's Day, right? So
Yeah.
I think something that was like really important, or something that you can keep in mind that you might have not even intentionally done, was you were proactive and you were betting on the trend that was upcoming. And a lot of reasons why people get sales is because they ride the wave as opposed to just meet at the peak of the top of the wave, right? And that's exactly what
Yeah.
you did. Whether you did it intentionally or not, or you knew what the heck happened, you rode the wave. And data exists. These trends will never change. Mother's Day, Father's Day, October, Halloween, November, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Christmas, it'll never change. So being able to find the viral products and create content and kind of outbid everybody before the actual peak of the wave by creating good content and having those
Yeah.
good keywords in place will help you, go viral. And that's what happened. And then, tell me about, the other product that hit 20K in a day. What was like your process in, finding that product? How much product research were you doing? Like what was like, how did you just like, yep, this is the one that I got to do. I got to order this fast. How did you come across it?
Yeah, so, I remember when I had my first product like going viral all the month of January, I was kind of like, oh my gosh, like I need to get everything set up, like I gotta get my LLC. Like I kind of remember being like in the thick of it, being like supplier, like whatever, because 0 to 100. So I kind of was just like, oh my gosh, scatterbrain on a lot of areas. And this kid reached out to me and was like, "Hey, like, would you ever want to partner on a store?" And I was like, "Yeah, maybe, like, whatever." And I was like, "I'm not really in a position to like partner up with anyone right now because I got a lot of stuff I'm working through. Like, gotta get my bits, I gotta get like, my finances set up here."
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, "Okay, like, whatever, we can look down the line, but in the meantime, let's just like send a couple products to each other, whatever." And I was like, "All right, whatever." So I remember it was crazy. Like I hadn't been on my burner account in like, probably like a week or two. And I remember it was like the second or third product as I was scrolling and I saw this product. It was a travel bag. And I was like, oh my God. Immediately, yes. Like I just like I saw it and I was like, this is a winner. I was like, I have to do this product. It was just like one of those moments where I was like, I would buy this product. I want this product. I am desiring this product. Like I want to have one of these. So I was like, I need to sell this. If I want this, if I want it this badly, I need to sell it. So I like ordered it and I was like, oh my God, we have to do this product. And I ended up sending it to this kid and we ended up partnering up. But you know, um, I was doing all the marketing, I was doing all the heavy lifting, and I was the one that went viral and everything. But I do remember just being like, I have to have this product. So I picked it, got it to my house. I started doing the marketing. And again, it went viral within 5 days because I was like, I know this product is just like, this is a genius product. It's such a winner. Like, I know I can market this so well. And also, I was specifically looking for products to sell to women. And,
Mm,
I found this product and I was like, I can specifically market this to a woman because like especially because I know like the stereotypical woman is to like overpack, take more than we need, because we need outfits for this and I need shoes for this. And what if I want to wear this instead? Like I get that. Like I get that mindset. And
yeah.
so I was like, I specifically want to market this travel bag to women. And I built my whole brand and my whole idea off of like, I want to market this to women. So I named the brand. Um, like travel her like based off of like women, and I used all of my hooks like were like women based, like really targeting women and like making women like feel something, and also using like women's sounds, like sounds that were like, oh, I love being a woman. And I ended up creating this perfect formula of this video, with my branding, specifically, how I packed the bag, like very aesthetic clothes that I knew looked nice together, things that like I know women would want to see, the caption that was like problem solution, but also involved like women. Like I think the hook that eventually like went viral was like my sister got me this travel bag, so I never have to check a bag again, right? Problem solution hook, a little bit of curiosity because it's like, oh, what do you mean you never have to check a bag again? Like the video was the answer to that hook. Um, and then the cherry on top was using a sound that was like, oh, I love being a woman. And it's like this like little dance beat, and like
Mhm.
I matched up um the video to the sound, like hitting the beats and the music. And it was like the perfect formula because I paid attention like who I was talking to. I knew I was talking to women who, overpack, who might travel a lot, who are trying to save money. I knew exactly who I was talking to. I knew, with the branding, with the hook, with the way I made the video, like it was like the perfect formula to blow up.
Mhm.
And so, I think, looking back, like when I posted that video, I like to say like, oh, I didn't know I was gonna go viral within 5 days, but like at the same time, like, when you post a video like that and you're strategic and you have someone that you're talking to, you are totally locked in, you have intention, with every little thing that you do, and you build a video that is just like hits home like that, it's gonna go viral. So like I know I like to say, oh, I didn't know it was gonna go crazy viral, but like at the same time, like I look back and I'm like, I knew exactly what I was doing. Like
Mhm.
even if like consciously I wasn't thinking about like it, I knew exactly what I was doing. Like I was
Yeah.
locked in. So,
No, that's
so,
that's that's pretty neat. You know what's
yeah.
interesting? You should definitely read the book called Propaganda by Edward Bernays.
Yeah, I haven't read that one.
Edward Bernays is, and I'll tell you something. It's because you basically just repeated history. This is the coolest part. Edward Bernays is basically the father of propaganda.
Mhm.
Essentially, when wars were going back in like 1920s and stuff like that, World War II, even World War One, then World War II, Edward Bernays was like, that's interesting. Propaganda worked for war. I wonder if it could work in like a normal setting where people are actually content. So Edward Bernays, father of propaganda, he created all these different campaigns to increase sales for companies that were lacking. So one of the ones that he did was actually called the Hearty Breakfast, where he actually increased meat sales and also convinced hundreds of millions of people that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now,
Mm.
it wasn't a light breakfast that people wanted, it was a heavy breakfast, right? Which is also why a lot of people are, now obese and the United States, over 60%, 50%.
Mhm.
But aside from that, going back to, your product with, this is going to be for women, this is going to be only for a girl, right? Tell you this, there's this campaign called the Torches of Freedom, right? Where basically there was this company, this cigarette company called Lucky Strike. And what they were trying to do was encourage a way to increase sales for Lucky Strike cigarettes. So during this period of time in like 1929, women's activists and like a lot of women's rights were going around, feminism, all this stuff. It
Mhm.
was just rising, right?
Yeah.
And essentially what Edward Bernays did was that the way that he marketed these cigarettes was for women to smoke the cigarette as a sign and form of women empowerment, right? And that it was in style. So, all these women now are like buying these cigarettes, and cigarettes are going crazy, getting crazy sales. But again, he marketed Lucky Strike cigarettes to the women's liberation movement, right? Catered it towards them, and now it's like this fashionable, like statement now. So exactly like
Yeah.
you did, you marketed a bag specifically for women. And it's kind of like it goes to show that, there's always these little niches, these groups of people, right? And I'll actually tell you a product, right, that is marketed. It's a very broad product. And it could basically be sold to anybody. But
Mhm.
this person that's doing, 2.5, $4 million a month was able to market that product, but to women only. And he repeated history again, Torches of Freedom. And that's kind of like the story that, at least your kind of story with the success of the bag or whatever the heck it was, kind of inspired from. So again, this was a part of
Yeah.
history that happened, marketing towards, the towards women that uh was during the liberation movement of women and stuff, and it took off. So you kind of replicated that historical event, which was pretty interesting. But
Yeah.
you should read this book. It's called Propaganda by Edward Bernays, and then
I
study.
will.
He has like a
I've heard
crazy
you talk
amount
about.
of stories about how he convinced, like, again, meat sales, like all this crazy stuff. And I highly suggest reading into it.
Yeah, I definitely will. Thanks for the suggestion. But,
Hmm.
something also I think that is interesting is I also was like, when I was building this brand on the back end, I was like, okay, initially I'm going to market all to women. It's going to be women, 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 knowing that there's going to be men in the comments like, what about for me? Like, what about for a man? And what happened when that video went viral? There were so many men in the comment being like, this can also be for a man. Or like, what about the men's version? And like literally like clockwork, all these men commenting on the video being like, I want one. Like, I want one for a man. And it was crazy because I
This.
planned for this. I planned for this. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to choose a bag specifically that I'm marketing to the men, right? Then we had a whole men's page where it was like travel him. And it was all for the men's page. But specifically, like, I like did that on purpose. I was like, I want to isolate this, knowing that I could sell this product to anything, to anyone. But specifically, I'm going to do women angle, really hit that home, really hit that feminism, really that women, 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 knowing that I could also, this bag is universal. A man could also have this bag.
Hmm.
But I did that as like a strategy, to also like kind of ramp up the controversy a little bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
making and I remember at the time, like one of this is so funny, like one of the coaches at the time, I remember I told him, I was talking to him, I was like, oh yeah, this is my brand. He was like, oh my God, no way. I was literally just talking to someone about like this sexist brand the other day that was going viral. And I was like, sexist? Or was that
Hmm.
on purpose? Or
The
was that a
sexist.
strategy?
That's
Yeah,
that's some that's some funny stuff right there.
I was like, that's hilarious coming from you, like being a man, like saying that this is a sexist brand, or just maybe a brand that I wanted to specifically market to women
Hmm.
strategically and then use that against the other sex to want to buy it as well. So anyway, but yeah, there
I
was a
think
lot
that's
of
like,
strategy that went into it,
hmm
but
I think
it
I
all
think
worked
that's
out.
like super super interesting, honestly. There's this book that I got to recommend. I forgot what it was called, but it was about like creating two different polars, right? So it's
Mm,
kind of like how, again, when you create controversy, all you're doing is creating a polar. That's why, like I say, like when you're marketing for your product, be as biased as possible, even if you have to
yeah.
fabricate it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because if you're biased and you're controversial, then you create this polarization where people can either feel strongly suited for or strongly against.
Mhm.
And if you're strongly
Mhm.
suited for it, people will relate to it, like the women, and then why it
Yeah.
caused that issue with like all these men or guys, little boys fucking like commenting under your
hmm
videos being like, "Well, I want one
Yes.
too. I need that." So it's pretty strategic, right? That
hmm
that you were able to play it out that way, and I think that was a good game plan, honestly. No wonder
Yeah.
you got the
Because
results.
I know, because I remember when I was like talking through, because I did all the branding for this product. I was like the brains behind all this all, and I had a business partner, but like I obviously am the one that went viral, had that like perfect thing, and I was the one who came up with the branding, the product, the everything, pretty much, the website. But I remember being like, this is the plan. We're going with travel her. As soon as all the men start commenting, where's my bag? Then we're like, oh my gosh, there's a whole section on the website for men. Like it's called gonna be called travel him. It's gonna be this style. And then we're gonna like have a website or have a page that's specifically for the men. Like I literally had this all laid out. I just needed to have that initial, that initial spark, that initial like virality, that initial and it wasn't just like initial, it was like explosive, honestly. But yeah, so I don't know. It's honestly, I look back on that experience and what I really take away from it is just gratitude for like everything that I learned and the skills that I've like gotten from being in the program and the marketing skills and just like you know having the experience and seeing all the hard work that I paid for and that I put time into pay off in such a large scale, such a crazy scale. And I
Hmm.
just feel gratitude, for that and just like being in the program and, learning all the skills and just, becoming someone that I believed that I could become, but,
Hmm.
I look back, on before dropshipping, before, business me, and I'm like, wow, like I wonder if she ever would have thought like that I would be in this position now or that I would be doing this now. It's just crazy to think about, but yeah, I'm just grateful
Hmm. No,
at
like
the end
I
of
just wanna, say that like, it's cool to see like your progress and like just seeing just your growth in general.
Yeah,
Like I'm sure that again, if you were to talk to your younger self, even like your former self before even joining the program, that is it even possible that you'd be in this position? And it doesn't really come to mind until like it happens, but it also happens before the results actually truly show. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So I feel like a lot of people, like especially beginners, they're always like acting on for the effect, but the effect is something that you can't control. But what you can control is the actions you take and the way that you think. Your thought
yeah.
processes, your limiting beliefs, your
hmm
I guess you can say your intentions behind the thoughts that you have. You can change the way you
Yeah,
think, you can change the way that you behave. And if you're not willing to change your behaviors, then it's just like say goodbye to the effect that you want, which is like the life where you want to travel and you want to meet up with
right.
people and all these other cool things. But yeah, you've done that incredibly well. And like, you should take pride in that.
Yeah. I'm proud of myself, but I'm mostly just grateful, and I just feel happy and joy. Um, and I think like, you know, I don't know. I just like it's just amazing, having that feeling of just having success and just seeing your growth and believing that you can do it. And honestly, what you were just saying, like the belief aspect, it's just so important. And people just forget about it too often. Just they think they just want to take all this action and they don't actually believe that they can have success. Like I feel like I see a lot of students now and they're taking action, they're doing everything right, their skills are amazing, but like what's weighing them down, what's causing them to go down, spiral down instead of getting those results is the fact that they're like doubtful or they've been
Hmm.
doing this for, maybe 2 months and haven't seen any results. So then they're just like, I can't do it, like whatever. And the crazy thing about this is like a lot of those feelings are unconscious, it's like our brain is like an iceberg, the conscious part is just the tip above the water, right? Our conscious thoughts and all of the unconscious things and things that we feel and things that are programmed in our mind as the unconscious part. So, if I have one advice to anyone that is like struggling or like feeling like they're not getting anywhere, is stay as conscious as possible throughout the day so that you don't let those limiting beliefs that have been programmed in your mind to take over, and when you stay conscious, you can remind yourself, like, I'm doing this, I am, powerful, I am successful, I attract wealth, I attract, success, whatever you want to say to yourself, whatever, you tell yourself to get yourself in that positive mindset. Like, just stay as conscious as possible so you don't let those mechanisms that tell yourself you can't, or that it's hard, or that it's difficult. Because, I'd say that, generally a lot of us have, um, negative conscious or unconscious programming, just people always telling you have to do something a certain way, or you have to believe this, you have to believe that, those are things that we've been instilled with since, birth, childhood. If someone says you have to have a 9 to 5, you can't do this, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. So a lot of that stuff is like unconscious programming that we just picked up from, our outside environment, right? So stay as conscious as possible so that you can begin to form those new pathways, those new neural, pathways, and overtake the ones that are telling you that you can't. Um, Again, because your brain is like an iceberg, right? Conscious, just the tip. The unconscious part is the part under the water that's actually huge and massive and has more of a part to play in your life than you even know.
Hmm.
So,
I 100% agree. Now, one more question before we kind of wrap this up, but like, as a beginner, right? What should I focus on the most? Like where should 80% of my time go towards if I want to start seeing results in e-commerce, in dropshipping?
I'm a big proponent of saying 80% mindset, 20% action. Um, And, that doesn't mean take less action. You can take as much action as you want throughout the day. So, like, if you are a new beginner and you are trying to learn the skills, like, start practicing your, marketing skills, right? Observe, watch other viral videos, see kind of the formula, right? Do your product research, right? Spend time with, the things that you're going to be doing. So, whether that's like watching the course videos, or, you are, putting in action, editing, recording, that is your action, right? Whatever your action you take throughout the day, your mindset needs to be 4 times that. So that's where we get the 80% mindset, 20% action. So you can take your action. You could spend, all day, watching the videos and you taking your notes and whatever, whatever. But your mindset for the day needs to be 80% or 4 times that. So 80% mindset, 20% action. And that can just be, staying conscious, being like, oh my gosh, what am I doing right now? You can just check in with yourself. What am I doing? I'm watching, a video on TikTok 101, and I'm taking my notes and I'm having a great time. I'm staying conscious and this is great, right? You're consciously being like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm positively reinforcing myself as I'm doing this. I'm going to get better. I'm going to get better, right? So 20% action, 4 times that is your mindset. 80% mindset. And that's what I would tell a beginner, because I can tell you without a doubt, even before I knew that framework, even before I started teaching people that, telling people that needs to be the framework, that's what I did. I know for a fact I did, because every single day I was like, I am grinding. I am doing awesome. This is amazing. Even, if I had been staring at my computer for 10 hours straight watching videos, or 10 hours, like just going over the videos, even if I was like, oh my gosh, my brain is exhausted, right? My body's exhausted. I was still like, 80% that mindset, 20% that action. I was still 4 times that action up here. So that's what I would tell, a beginner, is just stay steadfast in the belief, that you can do it, because you can. And the only person that tells you you can't is you. And that is
Awesome.
that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, aside from that, just wanted to, say thank you, MC, for all the great value. And thanks for showing up on this call, truly, and giving advice to all the new upcoming, entrepreneurs that are getting into this program, people that are
Yeah.
just learning and starting out. And this value, it's going to impact a lot of different people. And you have such like an interesting and unique perspective to, how the business mindset should roll. And you've really applied that yourself. And that's one of the biggest reasons as to why you're in the position that you're in. And not even that, you're continuing to learn and you're kind of like made that decision to become that lifelong learner. It's been pretty cool hearing how, you're getting into all these different things and just learning, and
Yes.
applying. So that's really neat.
Yeah, education, doesn't always come with college or high school or whatever. Education can be reading a new book or learning a new skill, and I'm such a huge proponent of that. So, yeah,
Awesome. Well, anyways, MC,
yeah,
thanks for hopping on the call and
of
we'll
course.
chat soon.
All right, bye, Adrian. Thanks for having me.